Do you want to do intro?
Hey guys, welcome back to Orms TV. Today we've got... Hey guys, welcome back to Orms TV. Today we've got something special out here in the beautiful Big Bay. The full review of the Canon 1DX Mark III.
Yeah, but before we dive into that, let's just give you a quick spec rundown on this absolute bad boy that we have over here. So kicking it off, this camera runs a 20 megapixel CMOS sensor. It's a brand new sensor, even though we have the same megapixel count as the 1DX Mark II. It is absolutely brand new, and it is a rather lovely sensor, as you'll see from the images we're going to show you throughout this review. In addition to that, the camera also has a brand new processing chip, and it's Canon's all new Digic X processing chip. Never seen before, and we're going to test how that works, how it handles file transfer, all of that good stuff. Also, the camera has a 191-point autofocus system, all of those points selectable, and 155 of those points are cross-type. The unit also uses a completely new autofocus system with a deep learning algorithm, and we'll dive into that a little bit more when we look at images and how that performs. Yeah.
And then also continuous frame rate, quite important with this. You're shooting about 16 frames in mechanical, and when you do mirror lockup, you get a full 20 frames per second. Full autofocus in servo mode, great. In terms of video, you've got 5.5K raw internal, but then 4K uncropped at 60 frames per second.
And if you guys want more information on the specific specs of this unit, please check out our first look review on this camera. There we dive into the specs nice and deep, run through everything. But for now, let's review this thing. That chopper's totally coming back, huh? I can already hear it.
Dramatic aberration.
All right, so we've been shooting it for a couple of hours here today in some beautiful surf. And also we've actually had the camera for a couple of days as well. So let's touch on ergonomics, button layout, and what's new.
Absolutely. So first off, I just want to say that when you pick this thing up, it's heavy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is also incredibly solid. It feels like an absolute monster in your hand.
It feels like a tank, yeah.
Yeah, like it really feels like you are not going to be able to destroy this thing no matter what you do.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you want from Canon's 1D series.
Yeah.
It's what it's always been, and it's exactly what you expect.
You want this thing to take the knock. You want this thing to get dusty and wet.
Yeah, so fully weather sealed, which is incredible. It's great. It feels like something that you can drop and not worry about it too much. Lay in the back of a off-road vehicle when you're out on safari and that kind of thing, and not really have to worry about it taking a beating.
Yeah. AF on button. This was a big help when we were shooting today.
Absolutely. So what you can do with that is when you are in the mode where you can select your autofocus points and your autofocus zones, that button is actually a touch button. And you can flick back and forth through it. You can set the sensitivity of that button and actually go quite quickly from sort of your furthest right autofocus point to your furthest left autofocus point. It's an incredible help. And it seems like something that Canon can improve with further firmware updates and sort of change in which scenarios you can use it, because right now it is a little bit limiting, but it is still a very nifty piece of kit to have, because the little joystick that you have only goes one focus point at a time.
Quite slow.
Absolutely.
And then also jumping to cards, they've changed it now to CFexpress, which is a huge help for this buffer. I mean, the buffer on this is a beast. We'll catch on that a little bit later. But two CFexpress cards also helps with the 5.5K raw shooting for video. I
will say one thing about the buffer. Yesterday, we actually tried to see if we can fill the buffer. And we shot 550 photos continuously with autofocus, everything in RAW, and there was no sign of a buffer filling up. It just keeps going. It is absolutely incredible. So the other thing I want to touch on is just the actual feel of the grip. And when you take it in your hand, as you really expect with a Canon product at this stage, it falls in perfectly. The grip is nice and deep. It's chunky, it's solid. When you hold it, you feel like it's not going anywhere. You can even do sort of like the fingertip hold, you know, no problem, absolutely perfect. everything is where you expect it to be.
Other thing I liked on it is the touchscreen. When we were reviewing, doing some zooming in and out, even just going through the menu, I really enjoyed the touchscreen on it as well.
Yeah, and it's sort of something that's growing on me with every new camera that comes out. Initially it was very limited, but nowadays running through the menus, selecting autofocus points, doing picture reviews, deleting images, everything like that is so handy having a touchscreen, even on a pro body like this.
Yeah.
It just helps, it just makes everything easier. What I also want to touch on is all the connection points that you have on the side here. You have Ethernet points, you have the connection for your WFTE9 GPS recorder over here.
For your wireless transmission.
Oh, sorry, for your wireless transmission. We might have to cut there, because I mean, really, GPS recording? That is not for GPS.
Yeah, it's for...
The camera has built-in GPS.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And built-in Wi-Fi, and built-in Bluetooth. Yes. The WFT connector over here is for the all-new WFT9, and that is for high-speed file transfer and also allows file transfer over greater distances than the built-in Wi-Fi.
Something that you'll see a lot at the Olympics happening.
You have microphone input, you have headphone jack output, you have your HDMIs, and finally
USB-C.
USB-C right over there, which is magnificent, because let's be honest, when you have a CFast card that is going through thousands of pictures in an hour, being able to download quickly is very handy. Very handy. Standard trigger port, that's all pretty straightforward, and of course your remote shutter. So sticking with this side of the camera, the battery that they have included,
it's still actually the same battery as the 1DX2, but they've improved the battery life, and that's thanks to the processor.
Absolutely. So Canon is saying that you're looking at about 2,500 releases on a single charge. What I can say is that in the last, let's have a look here, in the last 2 days we've shot 2,890 shots.
And it's only half, right?
It's half, yeah. So plenty of shooting still to go, and that is absolutely incredible for the amount of processing and speed that this thing outputs, and the video capabilities that this thing outputs. I mean, we're not even talking about the amount of video that we've shot here, and that battery is still going strong.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Welcome.
Orms TV. Okay, so touching on the first thing, picture quality. I mean, this is a 1DX Mark III, and it's going to be top of the range stuff. You can't fault the picture quality. It is amazing.
Absolutely. Even though we only have 20 megapixels to work with, it feels like it delivers a lot more than what 20 megapixels actually is.
That's right.
And even just looking at it, you know, we're so used to shooting ultra high megapixel cameras these days that you sort of forget how good 20 megapixels
20
can actually be.
Definitely more than enough for big prints even.
Absolutely. And obviously we know why this isn't a 60 megapixel camera. It's to give you the speed, to give you that performance. But it is truly good. And that 20 megapixels comes in quite handy when we're looking at the low light performance.
That's right.
Which this camera does really well.
Yeah, I mean, when we were shooting in the car park earlier, you can't fault it. It is extremely good in low light.
Yeah, it still locks on beautifully. You know, you're getting minimal noise. It's really a nice all-round sensor. I honestly have no complaints in that department on this unit.
And then focusing on maybe something that everybody really wants to know about this camera, speed. Insane. Yeah. We were shooting mostly through the optical viewfinder. I mean, and that was shooting at 16 frames per second. And I cannot think of one shot that we missed.
Yeah, if you look at the sequences that we're showing you now, like every single sequence, every single shot is in focus. It's sharp, it's clear, and just, you know, not just looking at the speed, just looking at this new autofocus system that Canon has implemented here. So I want to just briefly reiterate that. So they call it a deep learning autofocus system, and what it essentially is it's an algorithm for autofocus that's pre-populated with hundreds of thousands of images or shapes of human beings, and it's designed to pick up limbs,
bodies,
torsos, and specifically from that work out where the head is within the frame. And man, it does it so well.
It is really bang on.
it really is a jump in performance like we haven't seen in a very, very long time.
I mean, we were shooting with the all autofocus points,
Yeah,
and even then, with the surfer in the left-hand frame, you get the guy completely sharp.
Yeah, like literally you point it in the direction, you halfway press to get your focus there, and it locks on immediately.
It just knows where it is.
Yeah, and it is so incredible to look through the viewfinder and you actually see how the little autofocus dots is working, you know? Sometimes it initially picks up the body, and then you can see it sort of like jumping up to the face, you know, like right after that, once it's worked out what's going on. And it happens in fractions of a second, and it really is so incredibly good. I cannot reiterate to you how good that actually is. Even if you're shooting animals, and this is not something that it's designed for, but look at the sequence of a dog running, you know, it locks on, it knows what you're focusing on, and as you're tracking, even with obstacles in between, you know, human beings getting in between you and the dog that you're focusing on,
it locks on the dog.
Stays locked on, and it just hangs on all the way through. It really is a groundbreaking piece of autofocus technology.
Yeah.
And I'll say it again, it is absolutely insane. Well done.
It's probably one of the best autofocus cameras that I've seen in a while.
You know, I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
It's the best autofocus system that I have used, period.
Definitely. Yeah.
Jess, next time if someone asks you to take a picture, just say no.
Do you want to take a photo? Huh? Okay. Yeah? Okay. So seeing that we've touched on speed, we've been shooting in both modes, mechanical, 16 frames per second, but also in the electronic, 20 frames per second. Now, in my opinion, in this bright sunny day, the optical viewfinder is definitely the way to go.
Absolutely.
Now, looking at the screen, yes, you can increase the brightness of the screen, but we also both had that issue of it felt a bit strange when you were shooting at 20 frames per second, and it was a difficult indication of when the frame is going.
Absolutely. So what the camera does is when you release the shutter and you're in the mirror lockup mode, it sort of shows like a little white frame, but it's right at the edges of the actual frame. So it's very difficult to see when you're actually busy shooting.
And there's no shutter noise as well.
Yes, which is a good thing, but it is a little bit difficult just to tell when you're actually releasing.
Yeah.
The other thing that I didn't like about it as much was just the way that it picked up shapes within, you know, your frame for the autofocus. So just to clarify on that, when you do go for the mirror lockup mode, the fancy deep learning algorithm autofocus system disengages and it defaults to Canon's dual pixel autofocus system,
correct.
which is amazing for video shooting, but maybe not the best for action sport shooting, because it does struggle to pick out where the human being is within your frame.
I definitely prefer shooting with the optical viewfinder. It definitely felt like a completely different autofocus system when you were shooting with the optical viewfinder and then shooting with the mirror lockup LCD.
Ja. Ek so gewoond aan die kamera vas. Ek weet nie wat om met my hande te doen nie.
Nou maar hou jy 'n bietjie vas. Dit sing 'n swaar. All right, so now jumping to video, I mean, this is the first time we've seen a sort of consumer end camera do 5.5K raw internal recording.
Yeah, and in addition to that, it also does it at 60p, which is pretty incredible. The one thing that I will say though that I do find a little bit frustrating, whether you're shooting 5.5K or you're shooting 4K on this unit, the moment you bump it up to 50 or 60p, you lose autofocus.
Which is unfortunate.
It is, but I also get that if you are shooting at that kind of level, you know, and you're a professional, you know, focus puller and that kind of thing, then it's probably not the end of the world, but it would have been nice to see. And
definitely.
It seems like something that Canon can realistically fix with a firmware update.
Yeah, hopefully they'll resolve that.
Saying that though, the video quality is really, really good.
It's crazy good.
Yeah, and when you are shooting at 24 or 25p, the autofocus, that beautiful dual pixel autofocus, is fantastic in the video mode. It locks on, it tracks perfectly, you know, the transitions are smooth when using the touch screen to flip between background and foreground elements. It is lovely stuff. It is exactly what we've come to expect from Canon's video autofocus system.
How must I hold this?
Awkwardly. What Canon has done here to create this sort of hybrid DSLR slash mirrorless, giving you everything from a DSLR and bringing in a lot of mirrorless technology into that. I think it's really, really great, and I think it's a very nice indication of where this type of technology could be heading in the future.
Exactly. I mean, I really can't fault this. I mean, it really ticks a lot of boxes, especially the autofocus. I was surprised. It is a huge bump up over the Mark II.
It is
and
massive.
I think everything over the 1DX Mark II, they've just improved.
Yeah, and not just looking at the 1DX Mark II, I mean, even if you look at other cameras in this range out there, you know, from other manufacturers, I think this is a massive jump in what is capable and what we can expect going forward, because everybody else is going to have to catch up to this.
Exactly, and I mean, even the negative points we did raise, most of it can be adjusted or updated with firmware.
Absolutely, I see no reason why this camera can't improve over its lifespan.
Chromatic aberration.
Lifestyle. If this is what Canon is bringing for us in the beginning of the year, I think there's going to be a great Canon year for 2020.
I think so too, and I'm going to put it out there, the Canon 1DX Mark III is 100% my favorite DSLR that I've ever shot with. Even just on the back of that autofocus system, it is magnificent.
It is brilliant.
Yeah.
Struggle.
Well guys, thank you very much for joining us on that review of the Canon 1DX Mark III. We hope you guys enjoyed it. If there's anything that we didn't cover or anything that you would like to know, please don't forget to leave those comments down below. We love hearing from you guys and we will respond to your queries.
Yeah, and then also if you had fun with us today with the Canon 1DX review, consider subscribing. We actually have a peak design travel tripod video that's been a little bit delayed, but it is coming soon to you guys.
Yeah, so guys, we will catch you next time.
We'll see you
Cheers.
then.